Hello everybody, this is RJ here. This is Push Airlines, and today's video we are going to be flying from Livermore. If you haven't seen my previous video, do check it out. I booked a load from Sonoma County to Livermore. I'm going to talk about the load in just a minute, but if you can see now, I have a new company logo. It's pretty similar to my main channel, Push Aviation, but just a few changes. But other than that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at our load here today. So we're going to be picking up some furniture from Sonoma County, which is our base, and we're going to be flying to Livermore Airport. It's 68 nautical miles. Weight of the load itself is uh, 1,221 pounds, and we have 15 hours and 37 minutes to deliver the load. And if we take anything more than that, we're not going to get paid for it. So in aviation, it's better to be a little bit quicker and just not try to push anything to the last minute. So we're gonna go ahead and get this flight done immediately, which means now. But before I do that, I would also like to go ahead and take a look at any returning loads that we might have. So as you can see here, 710 pounds, we have a load coming back to Sonoma County for $6,745. That's actually a decent price, but I also want to see if there's anything else here because this one here, Concord is closed, but it's still very, very inexpensive load. So there's a lot of load available going out of our base. So what I'll do is I'm going to use Livermore to, I think I'm going to take this load. I'm going to accept that and I'm going to fly that on my way back in my next video. But this video we're going to be flying from Sonoma County to Livermore Airport. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, requests, please leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you guys find this video useful, informative, knowledgeable, whatever it is, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please hit that subscribe button. That will help support the channel. All right, that being said, guys, so we are going to accept that load it on the aircraft. Now, there is a difference of 231 pounds. So what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and offload some fuel here. So 231 pounds is what we need. So that should be good. So all of the load is now in. So what I will do is, guys, I'm gonna see you guys on the flight simulator side of it. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Just give me a moment, guys. I'll log in back when the flight simulator is powered up. Hello, everybody. Welcome back, and let me change the view here for you guys. Anyway, welcome back. So, um, so the basic plan is to taxi to runway 14, given the weather conditions. And if you guys want to know the weather conditions real quick, at Sonoma County Airport, 152153 Zulu, wind 180 at 11 knots, 10 miles visibility, clear clouds, temperature 24, dew point 11, altimeter 2967. And at Livermore, as we arrive, we can expect wind directions at 280 degrees at 18 knots. Um, we can get a little bit of a crosswind there, so we're going to be using the shorter runway just to increase the challenge a little bit, which is 25 right. And we're also going to be getting a good visibility there, about 10 nautical miles, just same as here. Um, a few clouds at 1,400 feet, temperature is 17, dew point is 11, altimeter 2978. So we are still in the low pressure system there, and we can also expect a little bit of turbulence as we proceed along the way. The winds at cruise is not really too much. It's about 8 knots on average, so really doesn't really affect the flight plan in any way. And this is a perfect day to fly a VFR flight in any way, shape, or form. There's no restrictions for us as far as VFR flying is concerned. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and power up the aircraft and get going. But before I do that, just one more thing I want to do is verify the the one second. All right, I just wanted to verify the airport elevation, landing airport elevation, and the landing airport elevation is 399.9 feet, so it's 400 feet. So the traffic pattern altitude is going to be 1400 feet today at arrival. All right, guys. Just one second. All right. All right, guys. So let's jump in and get this aircraft powered up. So the first thing is I'm going to take these two control yokes off. All right. So all the circuit breakers are in. Fuel can be in the tank that has the most fuel. In this case, both we offloaded a little bit of fuel, so we have exactly half a tank. Guys, also one more thing you want to notice is no matter how much the distance is, on a Bonanza, you have to have fuel over this yellow line. You cannot fly the aircraft when the fuel is anything under the in this yellow range. You cannot fly it. So even if it's right around here, um, between quarter and half a tank, that's still good. But make sure that it never is below the yellow line there. Alright, you guys, so I'm gonna just use the right tank today for departure. Cowl flaps can be left in the open position. Propeller RPM is high. Circuit breakers on the left sidewall panel and the right side, they're all closed. Landing gear lever is down. Parking brake is set. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the battery and alternator on. I'm also going to turn the navigation and beacon on. Fuel pump comes on. Mixture is rich. I'm looking at the fuel flow gauge as I increase the throttle all the way to full, and it should not exceed 13 gallons per hour flow, and we have 12.5 gallons. That is good. So mixture cut off, throttle cut off, and we can turn off the auxiliary pump and open the throttle 1/4 of an inch, and we are okay to start the engine. So let's go ahead, shout clear prop, and we are okay to start the engines. So as I start the engine, I'm going to go ahead and introduce fuel. There we go. We have a good start. Avionics come on, and we can set the GPS on. Our squawk code is going to be 1200 as we are flying a VFR flight. And let's go ahead and set up our RPM here. It's at 1400, which is a little too high, so I'm going to reduce it down to 1000 RPM. There we go. So that's about good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting the mixture slowly, leaning out the mixture till we see a drop in the RPM. There is that steady drop, so I'm going to advance the mixture just a little bit. So in case if there is any variation in throttle or the RPM, the engine is not going to shut off. So suction gauge is in the green. Airspeed is indicating 0, miniature plane is level and erect, and as far as the weather at Livermore, the altimeter setting is 29er, or I'm sorry, Sonoma County is 29er67. So I'm gonna key that in, 29er67. There we go. Just need to check something really quickly. Alright. So 29er67 is the altimeter, a vertical speed indicating 0. With the HSI, I'm going to set the heading of the runway, which is 14 is the runway that we're going to use. So I'm going to set it at 140 degrees. And turn coordinator ball at center. Turn coordinator ball at center, miniature plane level and erect. Now while we taxi, we are monitoring the turn coordinator and the magnetic compass to make sure that they work accordingly, and I'm going to show it to you guys in just a second. So we're not going to use any ATC for today's flight, but instead let's go ahead, turn on the taxi lights, Parking brakes is released. We have got the clearance to taxi. So let's go ahead and taxi you guys. So the power coming up. We do have a heavy load today. Alright guys, so what I will do is once I reach Alpha, taxiway Alpha, I'm gonna take a right turn and that'll Alpha will actually kind of swerve off to the left, but I'm gonna use Yankee to go all the way to runway 14. Left is clear, right is clear. Gonna take a right here. And basically now the Alpha is going to be the left turn here. This taxiway is going to be Alpha, but I'm going to take this one here, which is Yankee, and also do a quick quick test here for doing a run up really quickly. Now the winds are coming off at an angle of 150 degrees. So what we can do is we can turn to a heading of 150. There we go. See the turn coordinator and the magnetic compass as well, and that'll do it. That's a heading of 150 approximately, so we are facing the headwind. And let me take a look at it here. Let me go ahead and set the parking brakes. Throttle can come to the idle position. And what we'll do now is do a quick instrument scan. So the airspeed is 0, miniature plane level and erect, altimeter set to 8 is 75 feet within field elevation, vertical speed is 0, direction or HSI set to the magnetic heading, the heading bug of the runway, not necessarily the magnetic but runway heading, and we have the turn coordinator, ball at center, and the miniature plane is level and erect. As far as our engine instruments are concerned, fuel flow gauge is good, CHT, EGT is good, and oil temperature, oil pressure is good. Oil pressure is a little too low, but once I advance the throttle, it should go back up. Not really a problem. And suction gauge is in the green. It is always recommended that you have at least 1000 RPM anyways, and that's why you see the oil pressure so low. And as you can see, the oil pressure now is in green. So anyway, the next thing we're going to do is set the mixture to rich, and we're going to advance the throttle to 1800 RPM. That's right about there. And now we're going to do a magnetos test. To do that, let's switch to right magnetos first. And as you can see, the RPM drops about 25 psi, or 25, not psi, 25 RPMs. There's a drop in the RPM. And now let's do the left magnetos, and now you can see again a drop of 25 RPM. Now let's put it on both. As long as it's under 125, you're good. And the next thing I'm going to do is cycle the propellers or the governor to just heat up the oil so there is very fluid motion, especially while we're in the air. So let's bring the propeller to low RPM or high pitch. And now higher pitch angle, high RPM. Sorry. Lower pitch and high RPM. And one last time. And bring it back all the way up. Alright, so that is done. As the propeller RPM is coming up, that's pretty good. We can bring our throttle down once again to 1000 RPM. Yeah, that should be good. And let's make sure we didn't move. Nope, we did not. That's pretty good. Alright, so we are ready for takeoff at this point in time, so I'm going to turn off the taxi light, turn the landing lights on, strobe lights can come on, altitude mode can come on, we can set the timer to start, and verify that the mixture is rich, cull flap is down, and suction gauge, keep an eye on it as well as we progress right now. So let's go ahead and advance the throttle, parking brakes is released. The wind direction now has changed to 180 degrees. Oh, it was 180. I said 150, I'm sorry. Alright, so we've been cleared for takeoff, so I'm gonna continue further. So what we'll do is we'll do a straight out departure, and you know, get established on our course after we cross 700 feet. So till 700 feet I'm going to maintain an airspeed of, at least I'm going to try and maintain an airspeed of 100 knots, and after 700 feet I'm going to start climbing at a little bit of a higher airspeed called a cruise climb. Anyway, you guys, so mixture is rich, propeller RPM is high, so brakes are released, and I'm gonna slowly advance my throttle all the way forward. You have 6 minutes to be in that red line, and it depends from aircraft to aircraft. You have to look at the manual. But anyway, airspeed is alive, suction gauge is in green, 60 knots on the airspeed, engine instruments are good, 70 knots and 75 knots, and we can lift off. There we go, nice and easy lift off. Positive rate, gear up. Airspeed is going to come up now. Just try to maintain that 100 knots or close to as much as you can. Still maintaining the runway heading, and it's pretty good. So far, so good. So 100 knots coming up, and we still got about 200 feet to climb, and then we'll go on autopilot and climb about 700 to 800 feet per minute. And we are in the middle, crossing the middle marker right now. 700 feet, yaw damper on, autopilot on, heading hold, and I'm going to also hold the altitude at 5,500 feet, which is our cruising altitude today. So at this point, I can also go ahead and turn off the landing lights and continue to keep the cowl flaps door open. And once we cross 3,000 feet, we can start reducing the mixture. Now at this point, like I said, we have 6 minutes to be on that red line here on the RPM gauge. If you look at it in the tachometer, we are on the red line. So what we'll do is we'll bring the RPM down to 2500 RPM, and we're going to bring our throttle down. We can actually leave the manifold pressure the where it is right now, just to maintain that airspeed, but RPM is now 2500. Alright, you guys, so what we'll do now is we are getting close to the city of Santa Rosa up ahead of us. So what we can do now is we can start our turn to the left a little bit to get onto Highway 101. The Highway 101 should be on our left hand side. So I'm going to turn east till Highway 101 is on my left hand side. Or I'm sorry, right hand side. So if you actually look here, there's Highway 101 is this, and this is, I'm sorry, this is Highway 101, or actually this is Highway 101, and this is Highway 12. So, or actually I'm wrong, this is Highway 101, and this is Highway 12. That's just some weird street. This is Highway 101, very clear. So you want to start turning to the right when you see that junction here. Alright, so we're at the junction, so let's go ahead and start turning to our right on a heading of approximately 130, maybe 120, but let's go ahead and start setting up the GPS as well. Direct Kilo Lima Victor Kilo. Enter, activate. So we need to be on a heading of 122 degrees, so that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and turn a heading of 125 degrees and leave it at that. Actually, let's turn 120 for now. So we're 61 nautical miles out, 3,500 feet. So let's go ahead and start reducing the propeller, or leaning out the mixture a little. See how the RPM stays, and you want to try and get the RPM set there, or the mixture. So mixture is good, so it's 2492, so let's try to maintain that throughout the flight. So every 1,000 feet I'm gonna check the RPM. So I have 560 feet to go, and I'm going to check the RPM again. Fuel is good, still half a tank on the right hand side, so pretty much I'm going to use the right hand side tank only for today's flight. really it's a very short flight, really not going to make much of a difference as far as fuel imbalance is concerned. 4,500 feet, let's take a look at it. Our RPM is still holding up at 2492, that's pretty good. And let's continue the climb to 5,500 feet and check the RPM again. Got 5,500 to go. Now the next visual reference point we are looking for is of course the ocean, which is up ahead of us if you can see the line here, and on the other side should be the Concord Airport. Now we have to make sure that the Concord Airport is towards our left. Alright, 100 feet to go, and I'm gonna look at the RPM really quickly here. Still being maintained at 2492, which is really good. And then once I level off, I'm gonna go ahead and close my cowl flaps. So gain a little bit more airspeed there. So there it is. So at this point, the CHT, the oil pressure, oil temperature is good. CHT and EGT is pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the cowl flaps. That'll give us a little bit more of an airspeed, and that's pretty good. This is the city of Vallejo. And this little airport is the Sonoma Sky Park. So the most important part about VFR flying is you need to know where you are at any given point of time, especially because you need, in case if an emergency happens at this point in time, you need to know where you are, so you have a better idea of where you can land. And you're also looking for any open fields or anything like that to give you an idea of landing the aircraft there. So in this case, if I lose an engine right now, I can land in Sierra Airport or Sonoma Sky Park. So that's the plan of action. So if you think about it, I'm so high, I can get that airspeed, and I don't have to worry about the airspeed, in fact, and just fly directly into the airport. We certainly cannot land in the mountains, so the best emergency spot we have right now is the Sonoma Sky Park. If I recall correctly, I have flown this route before. There's another airport somewhere around that Sierra Sky Park I remember seeing, but I don't know if it's depicted here on Flight Simulator or not. There's actually another airport that I see. If I recall correctly, I may be wrong. It's been a long time. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Anyway, perfect. So we are going to skirt off this coastline there, or the line for the inland water, not necessarily the coastline, but yeah, this area here. We're just going to skirt it off, and once we cross that water body, the inland waters, we should have Concord Airport to our left-hand side. And in fact, we should see a couple of bridges too. I think I can see one already here. There's a second one here, but yeah, Concord should be visible from that point. Hazy weather, but it's pretty good. So I'm going to keep an eye out just to make sure that my airspeed does not exceed 165 knots. We're flying pretty well at a pretty decent speed, so we just want to make sure we keep that. Alright guys, this is the city of Vallejo, and there is that one of the bridge that I was talking about. And there should be another one on this side. There's one, two. There should be another one, I think. Because Highway 80 has a bridge, Highway 680 has a bridge, so there should be two of them on this side of this as well. Anyway. The emergency can be used as water at this point in time. Since it's all populated city, no fields or anything open, I'm gonna use water as the emergency place to land. Alright, there's one bridge. This is for Highway 80, I know for a fact. There should be one more for Highway 680. That I don't know where it is. But this is for Highway 80. .780 should be there, but oh well. Oh, there it is for 780. So this is Highway 80 and this is Highway 680. Sorry, not 780, 680. Alright, so we are arriving close to a city called Martinez, which is right over here. And on the other side of these mountains should be our airport, Concord. So this water body that you see here is San Pablo Reservoir. And it's used as a landmark, especially when you fly into Oakland from the north. It's used as a big landmark there. And then there's also Lake Chabot that's used as a landmark if you're coming out from the east. Anyway, we should have Concord in sight. There's Concord Airport. In case of emergency, I'm gonna go fly directly into Concord. If altitude is a problem, then water body. Alright, you guys. So we are only about 20 nautical miles out, or 27 nautical miles out. 9 minutes is left. So we need 1400 feet, so let's assume 400 feet we need to, 4000 feet we need to descend, 4100 feet. So it should take us 2 minutes and a little over 2 minutes to do that, to descend. So I'm going to maintain this altitude till I reach around 5 minutes, and then I'm going to start my descent. And that's Concord Airport right there. And this is the bits and pieces of San Pablo Reservoir. So guys, this is called Mount Diablo. Very good reference point. Especially when a lot of pilots perform maneuvers, learning how to fly and commercial maneuvers, they actually use this mountain as a visual reference. 160 knots is the airspeed, which is pretty good. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I don't want to exceed 165 knots. So, but we're doing very well so far. 22 nautical miles left, 7 minutes to go. So it's a good time to start descending at this point of time. So I'm gonna descend down all the way to 1,400 feet, and I'm gonna descend at a vertical speed of 500 feet per minute. I'm gonna start cutting down the throttle, bring it down to about 1800 RPM, just to make sure that you don't cross that yellow line. We are at 167 knots, so we're bordering that yellow line, so caution range. So I'm gonna try to maintain that airspeed there. RPM is good. As you can see, RPM is still being maintained. That's pretty good. And below 3000 feet, we're gonna advance the mixture to full, and there is a maintained airspeed. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna go up to 2000 RPM to make sure I can maintain that airspeed of 160 knots. So to enter, to perform arrival onto 22 right or 25 right into Livermore, we have to do a right traffic pattern for runway 22 right, or 25 right, sorry. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow this highway here once it is clearly visible, enter the, kind of cross the airport from the south, and then, or actually, you know what, let's just maintain the heading, cross the airport from the west, and then fly a little bit out and enter a 45-degree angle for a right traffic pattern. So I'm going to maintain this heading and continue to maintain it. till I reach Livermore, or at least have the airport in sight. Actually, I'm gonna maintain 2,000 feet, 2,500. That would be good. I'm also gonna go ahead and turn on my landing lights at this point in time. Again, the airspeed is a little high, but that's fine. We're still in the green arc. If I can see the airport, it's right over there. And this is the city of, that's the airport, so this is Pleasanton, California. So we can remain over Pleasanton, California, kind of like go cross the airport from the west, and then go straight like that, and then turn around, come back at a 45-degree angle, enter downwind, then right downwind, and then right base, and final to runway 25 right. That's actually a pretty nice idea. $620 feet to go. Took us a little over 25 minutes to fly, which is a very short flight, and we made close to $15,000, a little over $15,000. So this load was extremely beneficial to us. Guys, I just purchased the TBM from Just Flight, or not TBM, the Trinidad. So my speed is in the yellow arc, so I'm gonna reduce my throttle a little bit to about 1800 RPM, or 18 inches of mercury manifold pressure. So I bought that aircraft and I don't know its cargo capability, so I want to purchase that airplane and start flying that one. So instead of flying the Bonanza, which is the default aircraft, so really I'm going to fly something that is a little bit more advanced and a little bit more realistic. So I don't know, what do you guys think about it? So 2300 or 23 inches of mercury, 2500 RPM. Mixture is rich. And I'm going to descend down to 1,500 feet or 400 feet. Traffic pattern altitude. So we are landing on the shorter runway right over here, and we are going to be dropping off our cargo in one of these hangars there. So we're going to go straight, go left a little bit, kind of like skirt this mountains there, and then come at a 45-degree angle, and then enter the right downwind for runway 25 right, right base for runway 25 right, and on the final for 25 right. So this runway is really about 2,000 some feet, 2,600 feet or so. It's pretty good. Gonna continue that heading. Gonna maintain 2000 RPM so I can start reducing the speed a little bit. 1900 is good. So I'm gonna start my turn to the left at a heading of around 060 or 050 will be just fine. And once I go near that water tower, I'm going to start my turn to the right again. Or sorry, to the left. And that'll put us on a 45-degree angle to the runway, or to the tower. So 140 knots coming up. I'm going to try to maintain that airspeed right there. So we are ready to turn to the left. "90 degrees approximately, so to a heading of 330 precisely, or somewhere around there. There's the airport. So we are at a 45-degree angle when we face west. So that's a little bit to the right there. There we go. So we are at a 45-degree angle to the runway. And what we'll do is we're gonna turn left now to a heading of you know what, guys? I made a mistake. I need to land on runway 07, and that's what I'm doing right now. I don't know why I said 25, but yeah, 07 is what we're gonna land on. Let me take a look at the wind really quickly, you guys. So I'm gonna hold this heading for a second. Let me take a look at the wind. Wind is refresh. So wind is 284. So runway 25 is what we need to use. So I'm getting aligned to runway 207. So that's not correct. So what I'll do is I will enter the downwind for runway 25, right? So to do that, I'm going to make a turn to the left at a 45-degree angle. And now turn to a heading of the downwind heading, which is 070. little bit more to the right. Looks like I'm on the arrival end, so it's got to be a little bit more to the right. To get back to that traffic pattern, you know. I kind of screwed this approach up pretty badly. But we're gonna fix it, so that's what matters. I'm gonna get my gear down. We are at 140 knots, so gear down. I'm gonna start my turn to a heading of 070. And that's my downwind. Keep an eye out on the runway as well, just to make sure you fly parallel to the runway. God, I'm screwing this approach up pretty badly, you guys. Jeez. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna put 10 degrees of flaps, wide arc. I'm gonna disconnect the autopilot. Airspeed is good. I'm gonna start turning to the left for my approach. Continue that descent though. I'm gonna continue my turn because I did a very tight traffic pattern here. You gotta come in high, especially when you're in an area like this. Final flaps. So a little bit of turbulence going on and a crosswind coming out from our left. I'm gonna try and touch down on the numbers. Little bit of crosswind from the left, but $80 knots, pretty good. I'm going to land on those numbers, or at least try to. So I need to be a little low on the approach. little bit of left rudder there to keep the nose straight onto the runway. It's a little bumpy on the approach, but you know, it's the winds are coming off from the left. So first I need to touch down on my left gear. Oops. That was a bounce landing, but that's why. Flaps up. This airport does receive a lot of crosswind every single day, in fact. There's one more airport called Castine. It is another airport where crosswind landings are extremely happens all the time. So I'm just gonna stop here. Landing lights off, strobe lights are off. We can turn the transponder altitude off. Timer can come off. Flaps are up. Cull flaps can go down. Oh well. And mixture can be leaned a little bit. There's a drop. So I'm going to increase the mixture a little bit, and that should be good. Let's continue the taxi. Taxi lights on. And propeller RPM can go high. We're gonna go take a right here ahead of these hangars, and actually what we're gonna do is we're gonna go all the way forward and park in front of this big hangar there. Let's go closer to the hangar there. Taxi lights can go off. Let's park somewhere around here. Should be good. Throttle to idle. Mixture cut off. Avionics off. Parking brake set. Beacon off. The navigation lights off. Alternator off. Ignition switch to off. Battery off. Cowl flaps is open. And we can turn this to the off position, the fuel shut off valve, and that's it. So let's go ahead and unload the cargo and collect the moolah. So let's see. There we go. Oops. Alright, there we go. Unload cargo. Job completed. There we go, you guys. So that job has been completed and finished flight monitoring. Landing was okay. It was actually a bounce landing, so really technically it wasn't okay. But anyway, 37 minutes added into our flight log. And now we do have one more load, which is going back from Livermore. We're getting $6,745, which is not a lot, but it's pretty good for now. But if you look at our company reputation has gone up to 22.5% and the overall reputation to 20.83. And the moment we see this number reach 40, we can start taking loans. But before it reaches 40, I'm going to be buying the um, Trinidad. I'm not sure about the cargo capacity on that aircraft, something I need to look at. But as far as the finance is concerned, we got $276,000. And let's take a look at the ledger here. $15,262 is what we received from this specific flight, and a landing fee of $130 was charged. All right. Lastly, I'm also going to go to personal info, flight log. 2 hours and 3 minutes is the total time. We have had 4 flights so far, which is pretty good. And our next flight is going to be fairly short again, about 30 to 40 minutes long. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. But I will see you guys in my next video where we fly from Livermore back to Sonoma County Airport, which is our base. And we're going to be carrying about 710 pounds of cargo, fairly light. And we're going to be paying a landing fee of, I'm sorry, the fee that we're going to get from doing that load is $6,745. So I'll see you guys in my next video, guys. See you guys.